up, make the most of the game. Right now, be Kobe with the 8. Understanding 24, this still could go away. You matter in this world, realize this the stage. Last dance, yeah, could be any day. Have a say.
She be smiling, I'm turned on. She making me feel I'm the one. All eyes on her when she's dancing. My beauty queen is glowing. All the smoke is blinding my heart. Where could she be, I wonder. Oh, my mind busy looking for her. I'm dreaming on, I want her. Happy party on the rooftop. All my friends get their groove on. All eyes on me when I'm walking. The fairy tale I'm glowing.
When artificial intelligence is revolutionizing the customer experience, our ways of working, and networks. When cybersecurity taps into networks in the age of AI to predict threats faster. When the home is enhanced with new connected services that simplify daily life. When companies explore the best technologies to boost their creativity and efficiency. When networks adapt to any situation and evolve into open, automated service platforms. When these same networks are becoming the new playground for developers. When the customer relationship is instant and personalized. When nearly 700 researchers work daily to serve future customer needs. When the worlds of tech and telco come together to go further. When innovation becomes continuous, iterative, and faster to deploy. When experts, companies, startups, and partners imagine together responsible future. When innovation opens up to the greatest number. Orange Open Tech 2024. Orange is here.
Hello and welcome to day 3 of Orange Open Tech as we go further, faster, together. My name's Aman and I'm delighted to welcome you to this panel session from Telco to Techco, transforming networks through APIs. Now, I really hope all of you have had a wonderful last few days here at Orange Open Tech. Oh, no, come on. We need to do something better than that. Have you guys been having a wonderful time at Orange Open Tech? Yeah. Oh, Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, so we're all really excited for this panel session. So let me just give you a very quick intro about what you can expect to hear. So obviously, in an era of network virtualization, the network APIs enable the conversion of networks into programmable digital platforms. Now, these APIs are going to revolutionize how we do business, whether it's from operators to marketplaces, from partners to enterprises, and from developers to end users. They'll enable seamless integration, enhance operational efficiency, and drive innovation. Now, we have an exciting lineup of industry experts who's going to share their expertise and knowledge on network APIs, covering the digital services landscape. On the panel, we have Laurent Leboucher, CTO of Orange and SVP of Orange Innovation Networks, Joakim Sorelius, Head of Business Unit Global Network Platform at Ericsson, and he's also the joint venture interim CEO, Magnus Olden, CTO of Domos, Viktorija Radman, Telecom Global Business Director at Infobip, and Attilio Anton, who is our moderator and is also the director of Orange's Telco API programs. So without further ado, let's get the show on the road and let's welcome our panelists from Telco to Techco, transforming networks through APIs.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Aman, for that great introduction. We are very excited to be with you here today. And today at OpenTech, there is a Developer Day. So it is a special day for us. And I would like to thank each one of our guests for joining us from abroad to share with us learnings on the network API journey to the market and to end customers. At Orange, this is a core initiative for us that started first from the technical side, and that which today we see it a great opportunity on the path to becoming a tech company. We have action for this levers in terms of dedicated skills from product to technical to business. And we have been actively engaging with all of our partners and friendly customers to bring the first use cases to the market. One of the things we see often, we see a great positive forecast from several analyst companies, and one of them, STL, recently mentioned that there is a 34 billion potential of this market. There are several numbers out there on the market. Viktorija, can you share with us what do you believe is the size of the opportunity on the network APIs today?
Usually I'm a very optimistic person, so these numbers I do truly believe it's something that we can achieve, but considering a global situation and a global not having those APIs still and the challenges that we passed and we still have to manage, I would say that those numbers are really, really optimistic. But I do believe that the value is there and the need is there, which is more important. But we should still show the value to the market, because the numbers that we are now talking about, the analysts are coming from, I still think that the market, the clients, enterprises, banks, etc., whoever we are trying to sell these APIs, we need to create the value for them. We need to create a lot of case studies. We need to create a lot of use cases that they understand and that feel the value that they can use. For now, unfortunately, we maybe have globally up to 10 countries that are ready with the use cases, meaning that they have a proper market share, that the operators are following the same standard, etc., which is, in order to reach those numbers, it's not enough. But yes, I'm more than sure that the operators, Orange Group and the big giant groups are working on it to spread it as much as possible, create the new APIs, new use cases, and something that will be very valuable for the future. Yeah.
Thank you, Viktorija. On that note, Joakim, Ericsson had invested early on in Vonage and most recently on JV announced in September. Can you tell us more, and can you tell us more about the size of the opportunities seen from Ericsson?
Sure, I can do that. So starting first of all with all these reports with who are saying numbers that are loud, I think that are large. I think the most important that they show is that there is a lot of interest and there is a lot of potential for network APIs. And the exact numbers, of course, we could always debate, but there is a real opportunity and a real need out there. And I think from Ericsson's perspective, it's also the direct opportunity, of course, of the network API transaction is very important, but it's also important to think about what does that enable for mobile operators. If you think about connectivity, today connectivity is valued as best effort data, regardless of which application is using it. When network APIs start to be used, especially quality of service type of APIs, quality on demand, then we can have the ability to actually, say, monetize the 5G networks based on the value that the applications put on the networks. And that, I think, can unlock an even larger opportunity than what these reports are talking about. Now, if you want me to go a little bit more into our realization of why we acquired Vonage and the joint venture, I can do that. So, of course, it all started with the realization that 5G networks and mobile networks and fixed networks, all the networks out there, contains a lot of untapped potential, a lot of untapped value that is not being made available to developers or to enterprises today. Of course, companies like Ericsson, we have a lot of competence around mobile networks per se, but we do not know how to reach the developers. We do not know how to foster a developer ecosystem. And that is really where Vonage came in. We acquired Vonage to put those pieces together, so we had both the network layer and the developer layer in place. Now, Vonage is an important developer platform, of course, but it's not the only one. And when we realized that, we figured out that, together with leading operators like Orange and others, we decided to create this new company, this venture, that would do API aggregation and API normalization and provide it to developer platforms, not only to Vonage, but also to Infobip and Twilio, to hyperscalers, to all developer platforms that are out there. So for us, this is a means to actually accelerate the monetization opportunity, because doing it alone will not scale. We have to do it as a large industry. So this new company, it will buy network APIs globally at scale from all CSPs around the world and provide them in a simple way with one terms and conditions, one contract to developer platforms like Infobip or Vonage or others. So that's really what we try to do. And I also would like to say that we feel a certain sense of urgency here as well, because the competition for Vonage or for Infobip is maybe not really each other here when it comes to network APIs. It's really the other technical solutions that are coming available that try to solve similar problems but do not involve the telecom operators. So I really think that it's important that we speed up and we get to the market very, very quickly.
Thank you so much, Joakim. And it is really exciting, and it is, as you mentioned, on the day-to-day, making this happen. That's where we are focusing right now, the attention. So, Laurent, can you tell us more how this is impacting the network play at Orange?
Can you hear me? Yes. Good morning, everybody. I think it has a lot of impact. Perhaps I should say that the telco APIs is not something which is in the vacuum, completely outside of the other activities in Orange. It's very closely related to many activities. And at some point, it's the core, the very visible part of what we call a value stream, which is about transforming the telco into a platform. Transforming the telco into a platform means that on fixed, mobile networks, for B2B, for wholesale, for B2B2C, we try to become exactly the same as a cloud provider towards developers. We want to show that our networks are capable of providing many interesting use cases. So it creates a lot of interesting new challenges. One of them is we have a culture of engineers, network engineers. A lot of people close to me in my teams, and they know how to deal with complexity. And because they've used to deal with many different layers of networks also different generations of networks. And we love to solve complexity problems. We love to solve interoperability problems. But in fact, developers, they don't care, just don't care. And sometimes when, you know the proverb, which says, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So it's a bit like that. I mean, take a word like slicing. Slicing is something which speaks to us, doesn't speak to developers. And they don't care about slicing. So I think the big challenge, first of all, is really to be focused on use cases. Use cases is much more important than slicing. Use cases is much more important than the deep internal mechanics that we are building. And for that, we need to create the bridges. We need to bring together all the skills, people who know how to listen to the problem of our customers. So you've seen in the demos, very interesting demos, showing complete use cases, solving real problems. And this is exactly what Ottilia and her team is trying to do, is really to bridge together different skills, bring these skills, people who understand the problems of our customers in different verticals, and people who can solve that in a way which is extremely simple. So simplicity, making as much as possible for the first time APIs which are extremely simple to consume. So I would say a lot, really huge shift in terms of culture, in terms of mindset, how we can really create the momentum.
Thank you so much, Laurent. And to that point, Viktorija, Infobip was among the first to launch camera APIs, starting with Brazil. Can you share with us a bit more what was the context there, and how did Infobip capture the customer needs and some user feedbacks after the first launches?
Yeah, maybe just to say that Infobip is a global company, as you already know. Somehow we pick up Brazil as the first country to really focus our forces about the APIs there, because it's a huge country. We have a great relationship and collaboration with all three mobile network operators there, which is crucial. If you want to bring this to the market, you really need to have a collaboration between the operators. They really need to align about the APIs that they are bringing to the market. They have to think about the go-to-market strategy together with the partners. It's not easy, because it's easy to develop APIs. It's not easy to develop, but still it's easier than to put it to the market. Because if we talk with for example, if you talk with the clients, we have a super cool APIs, they are standardized, they are this, they are that. They don't understand at all what you are talking about. If you're coming to bank, you really need to understand their pain points, how you are solving that, what the value you are bringing, because implementing something new, banks, for example, they have thousands of different solutions for fraud protection. The SIM swap detection is not the only one that can help them with something. So they need to understand the value that we are bringing. Those APIs are not 5G network related. They are already there for some times. But it took some time really to have the proper market share, to proper standard APIs. But now we are seeing some fruits. The feedback is very positive, but what is important for all the clients there, not just the Brazil, is simplicity. You just mentioned that. That is the why Infobip have this platform on top, which is really federating all the APIs, putting the one simple APIs towards the clients. They don't need to know once they are sending the request if this is the MSSDN from operator 1, 2, or 3. They don't care. They just want to send requests, get very quickly reply back, and do the action based on the reply. Those APIs that we are serving at the moment in Brazil are, of course, not 5G related, but it's good that we put a lot of efforts to educate the market and already now showcasing what the real network APIs can bring to them. And that is as well very maybe important to know that they are understanding and seeing the values. When we had the conference in Europe, developers conference in Europe just a few months back, this is the first time where we introduced the APIs to developers community. And when I was saying to developers, we have the first time we are bringing mobile network operators there, and they were saying, why operate? What are they doing at the developers community at all? That is like big, giant corporations that are selling the data packages. So we need to break that gap between developers community, between what they are doing and how they are pursuing mobile network operators. Because what we want to do, we really want to do this transformation from telco to techco. Because what mobile network operators having and sitting on the data, sitting on the network capabilities, we really can bring the value, not just to the enterprises, banks, etc., and to developers that are consuming and building the applications there. So, yeah.
Maybe I can chime in on that one as well. I mean, I think both of you nailed it perfectly. I mean, we cannot just put the APIs on a marketplace and expect developers to pick them up and generate a great business for us. There's a lot of education that is needed. And like Viktorija said, that education has to happen by showing the developer community what the mobile network can do. So creating solutions around network APIs for specific verticals like the finance industry or to the mobile video streaming community, for example, so that they can see how network APIs are used. And when they see that, then others will learn and will start to get the innovation going. But it will not start by itself. And that's really why we try to come together as an industry to kickstart and reaccelerate and rejuvenate this type of business so that developers get excited.
Thank you, Joakim. And to that point, I'd like to ask Magnus, because Domo has been working on network predictability for a while, and I would like to know more, Magnus, how did the camera initiative impact your product thinking, and where you stand today?
Well, yeah, I think I have to explain a bit what Domo does and where we're coming from. So we started a few years ago creating application-aware networks, right? So we make software for home Wi-Fi routers, pretty much trying to figure out how well is a video conferencing call working, or gaming, or streaming session. And if it's not perfect, what is causing the degradation? How can you fix it? That's where we started. Then we started thinking, you know who should be really interested in why apps are not working? App developers. So we figured out we could take our technology and actually bring it into applications through SDKs. And like any good startup, we started doing market research. So we went out and talked to lots of developers from the Metas and Microsoft, but also like one developer startups and a lot of things in between. And we learned a lot of things. Like one, there's a lot of interest from developers in figuring out why the network is not serving them well enough, why their application is getting poor user experience. There's a huge interest in that. And to give an option to how can we fix it. So the interest is there from the application developers. But the second thing we learned was they need absolute simplicity. Like all of you have mentioned, they don't know anything about radio, they don't know anything about 5G SA or Wi-Fi or anything. They just need it to be super simple. And I actually have an example. So we went out and talked to a company that does remote support, right? So they have an app that helps people call customer support center and they can get video and show it. About 2 to 5% of all their video conferences breaks down due to connectivity. So it's a big part of their revenue. But so they had interest. They want to fix these 2 to 5%. They really do. And they are willing to pay for it. But what kind of surprised me a bit, but I've learned more and more as I talk to more developers, is that this company is the primary thing their developers are doing is ensuring regulatory compliance, is ensuring reporting. Like this actual streaming of data is just like a side thing they outsource to a different company, and they don't know anything about it. So they had a lot of willingness to pay for this to just work, but they did not have a lot of willingness to spend developer resources on it. And I think, go beyond the hyperscalers and the Metas and the whatnot, this will be a very common case. Like, it just needs to be super simple. Don't make them think at all. So that's the second part. Like, the simplicity is absolutely needed. And the third part was that we were coming from fixed broadband. And the question was always like, great, how many places can I get it? How big is your deployment base? Is it everywhere? And of course, it was not. So then Kamara came along. And Kamara really helps with two of these problems. One, making it a lot simpler for developers because, well, you don't have to deal with 10 different telcos in different countries. And the second thing is it's really going to help drive adoption, right? So, back to this example, 5% of all calls breaks down. If you can fix all 5% of those, like, great. But if it's just 1/10 of those, then they're probably not going to spend time on fixing it. So bridging that gap and just making sure there's enough coverage for application developers to actually get in there and say, hey, this makes enough sense now that I can solve 5% of all troubles I have, that's really valuable. So Kamara has really driven a key part of this, but of course it's like the joint venture and Infobip and lots of other parties that needs to be there, and the capabilities need to come out, right? Because you only have kind of one chance to get the developers on board.
Thank you so much, Magnus. And to that point, I really invite the audience to visit the demo with Home Quality on Demand, which is done in collaboration with Domos. Would you have, Magnus, to that point, I would say a recommendation for us? Because Kamara just had the first meta release earlier in September. What would be your recommendation, suggestion for the community to make this impactful in the months to come?
No, I think, we talked about it here. You need to create use cases and show that it works. I actually think, in tech, there's this concept of dog fooding. So the first customer of AWS, that was Amazon. No one used AWS for the first few years except for Amazon. Same with Azure and Microsoft, right? So I think, Orange, you're a big organization. You should take some time, start. Orange TV should start using quality on demand, right? Orange Business should start building vertical services targeted at enterprises and people who work from home, and really try to dog food this. Because if you do, then you can show, hey, this is the problem, it's solved. Here are real life use cases. And that will just make the conversation with developers so much easier when you can show real life use cases.
To that point, Magnus, actually we had organized before OpenTech the developer challenge for our internal communities, and we really had great use cases coming from on geolocation, and would definitely try to expand that to several applications. So to the audience and people visiting today, please do reach out if you have ideas, and we'll try to put some of those into motion. I would like to come to back to a point between network as a service and communication platform as a service, and have Viktorija's and Joakim point of view. Is this more a network as a service play, or is it more an extension from this communication platform as a service domain?
So Infobip is, of course, mainly communication as a platform provider, and we are taking care about communication between brands and consumers. This is our main job and scope. And I think if we want to create more security or to ensure that this communication is done on time, then those networks as a service is completely perfectly sitting into communication as a service. Because whatever we are talking today, those applications, banks, transaction, etc., everything is communication between brands, clients, developers, and consumers. And that's why network as a service, network APIs are perfectly sitting and fitting and enriching this communication as a service platform that Infobip is having. I mean, that's why we are in this space, that we are not doing communication between brands and consumers. Probably we would not even look at the network APIs that the mobile network operators are providing. And having this great collaboration with mobile network operators globally, knowing where they are going, this transformation as well that you are trying to reach as soon and the best standardized way, is something that is really important for us, because communication at the end is done over starting from SMS, but then over the network, etc., etc. If we want to ensure it in a proper way, then the network as a service is perfectly sitting into our portfolio of business. Yeah.
So from my perspective, it is clear that there are so many applications out there that already use network capabilities today. Just coming here this morning, I called the Uber driver to reschedule where to pick me up, and that was a network API call over an application, right? It was just voice, a simple API, but SMSs and video. So there are plenty of applications that are already using them. So it is clear that many of these applications that are already in place in the world, that they can be enhanced and become better with the use of more advanced network APIs. So I totally agree that network APIs is an extension of the CPaaS business, but it allows to make applications better that already exist, but also these network APIs will make new applications possible that are not there. But in Vonage as well, we have organized the network API business as part of the current API business, so to say, as an extension of that. Very clear.
Thank you, and we are really looking forward to develop the collaboration with the newly created JV and help support the ecosystem to have that critical scale. Coming back to the network play, Laurent, how do you see this evolving for Orange? What are the key ingredients to make this successful, and what would you like to see coming up in the next months from us?
So I think, first of all, I would say that the planets are aligned, if I may say. We have today very large telcos gathering together in the same initiative, also very synchronized on the objective, very synchronized on the first APIs that needs to go to market. We still need to go to market in our geographies. So I would say the key first objective is to be very clear, very vocal together with our peers in our European markets, in France, in Spain, and the other European markets. And for that, we need you. We cannot do that alone. So we need to work with partners in order to provide that aggregated layer. We also need to create an ecosystem. We need to work with partners who will bring added value on top. And you provided, all of you, good examples on how you can work in order to create that ecosystem. And this ecosystem will be, I would say, very rich. There is not only one go-to-market, and we need to agree with that. It's part of it. And last but not least, there is, again, very important transformation, internal transformation, in order to come up with the very first use cases that will create new revenue opportunities for all of us here.
Thank you, Laurent. And to the developers that are here today with us and want to know more, and I'd like to come back on Magnus' view towards what are the requirements. I would say, what are your recommendations towards the developer communities? How can we talked a lot about simplicity, and definitely we have a strong expertise on the operator side of network capabilities. In your view, what would be for the next steps the most impactful in order to engage deeper with the developer communities here present?
Yeah, I think the two things we need to do. We need to either solve their problems, like developers' problems, or enable them to do new things, right? These are the two key things. And for us to do that, we need to be much better at simplicity, but also just losing, say, the telco jargon, talking about slicing, talking about 5G, because like you talk to any developer who develop a web app. Like the web app doesn't even know if it's connected to Wi-Fi or mobile, and it cannot know. Like the operating system doesn't allow it to know. So these are we need to put ourselves in more kind of app developer shoes. And I actually started my career developing apps, so I have a bit different perspective. And because you see, when you make an app, like you're having 100 different problems, right? Network is one of them, and you need to fix all these problems to launch your apps. right? There's tons of other things. So your attention span is quite low when it comes to solving these problems. So it has to be a super simple coverage everywhere and just very, very simple, and don't make them think. Just give them a line of code and integrate that, and that's it. And if you do that, I think we can be successful. Then it's also about showing these examples, right? Having real use cases where it have been used, I think will also be very important to get anywhere, so that a developer can come and say, hey, this app did that and it helped them like this. It will just make the conversation a lot easier than saying, hey, we have quality on demand, which they don't understand.
Before we open up to... Yes, of course, I wanted to ask.
Say one thing on that. I think that was a super good point. And I wonder, I'm thinking, like, if we can get the developers to actually rely on the mobile networks to give a certain needed performance that application actually needs, would they then develop different applications than they develop today, where they just have to assume that the network is not going to work, right? So, and the application has to survive anyway. So if they could really rely on the network, if we had a simple mechanism, not talking about slicing or QoD or so on, but talking about you have a network that can do X, Y, Z all the time, would that be a good value proposition for developers, Magnus?
I think that will change. Yes, it will be a good value proposition. And kind of the reason why is, if you knew how much time has been spent by developers on building algorithms for adapting to poor networks. A lot of energy is being spent, a lot of excess network usage is being done, a lot of poor user experiences. And like, one thing is for the Netflixes and Metas to do this, but all the other apps, they maybe just avoid it. Like, if the network is poor, they just blank the network is poor. That's all they're trying to do, right? So if you can give some sort of guarantee, or just make it very simple, like, hey, I need to stream video conferencing. Can you make this work? Yes or no? I think that will change a lot of how developers are interacting with the network, right? Because right now they like to just avoid it.
So a lot to think about, and definitely we have some more questions coming up for you, but I would like to give the floor also to the audience, if there are any questions you'd like to ask our guest today, or...
Yep. If there are any questions from the audience, please raise your hand, and we can get a microphone over to you. There's a gentleman over here. If we can get the microphone over to him. Thank you.
Hello. So thank you for the presentation. It was really interesting. You mentioned at the beginning that you were targeting anti-fraud because it was the main spectra of income, I guess, because it was like 80% of your revenue will come from the anti-fraud perspective in the API. Aren't you afraid that targeting bankings and this audience, because your need maybe to get some revenue, but their need is to get a secure access, but maybe targeting this specific audience, you won't benefit from improving your APIs because you're targeting only one audience instead of a broader developer spectrum, like the person from Domus said. If you address, I don't know, different challenges, you target a different developer audience, they will have different needs, they will give you different feedbacks on your APIs, and it will change what they will do. I recently did a hackathon in Belgium with a developer community with the Orange APIs, and they already gave a lot of good feedbacks about how we can improve these APIs. And it was because they were targeting, I don't know, societal impacts, like developing an app to follow and track your children coming from home to school, and using geolocalization, using geofencing. It wasn't precise enough, but what I can say is that the Orange Developer Portal was really good, the APIs were really well documented, and it was really easy to access. But the feedbacks that we have gotten are really good to improve our APIs, and it was because we targeted a different audience. What can you say about that?
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, maybe I can answer your question, because we are directly working with clients, banks, fintechs, etc. Of course, with these fraud protection use cases and APIs, we are not targeting just banks and fintechs. This is the first obvious choice, but it's not limited. So we are targeting all different kind of verticals. But in order to get the first revenue, of course, you go to the first one that you know that it's a need there for it. So of course, that the first revenue that we are generating as for fintechs, from banks, etc. But we are talking with different kind of verticals. We on the same event with the developers. We did a hackathon. We present as well all these fraud protection use cases to the developers which are not working with the application related to the fintechs, and the feedback was very positive. On the other side, on those APIs location, or when you're really exposing the personal data of the MSSDN of person, you need to think about some additional regulation than just of the network slicing, etc. If it's a bank, then you know it's a fraud protection use case. Then you know that we can sit on a legitimate interest when it comes to GDPR. And in a majority of the country in Europe, you don't need the explicit consent to ask for this information. But if we talk about any other use cases which is not strictly fraud prevention in a bank sector, etc., then we need to talk and think about consent. To who you are sending those information, to who you are sharing the location of the person, etc., etc. So it's not easy. Of course, it's something that we will talk more and more, depending on the country regulation, etc. Of course, we need the feedback from different kind of verticals. We need to understand the value and the need, but it will take some time to really create the proper revenue and monetization from other verticals. Yep. Maybe someone else.
Thank you, Victor.
Maybe just quickly add, absolutely yes. I mean, there are other APIs than fraud prevention APIs, and we're going to, expose those as well. We're just like Viktorija says, starting there because it's an obvious where to start. The APIs are available in many networks, so it's easy to start there. And I think, like I said before, to get the developers excited about capabilities in networks, they need to see real examples. And here we have a real example that we can actually get started with very, very quickly. So, and feedback, please, has to bring feedback back to the developer platforms that develop the APIs. Absolutely.
If I may, here at the second floor, but also at the sixth floor, you can see a few examples showing very different use cases, not only about fraud protection. So fraud protection is an obvious one, but there are others. Using geolocation, using people density, using also quality on demand, for very, very different kinds of use cases. And yes, of course, consent is absolutely essential when you need to share personal data. But think about devices. It's not just about people. It could be also about drones. It could be about cars. It could be about... So there are different areas also in the smart factories, for instance, where you can have interesting use cases, where consent is not always here, where you can start as well, easily.
Lots of interesting use cases on IoT domain as well. Do we have other questions from the audience? I think there was Amelia.
Hello, I'm Amelia Newsom-Davis from Orange. I had a question, well, for Ericsson, but for the rest of the panel as well. You mentioned the need to accelerate. What do you think are the key barriers, the key blockers at the moment? If you had to say one or two, the key areas we need to work on to get it moving faster.
Yeah, we already talked about the developers thinking that the networks are too complex, and that it's an obvious one. The second one that comes to mind, I think, is that, yeah, we telcos are a very complex bunch, right? I mean, we like complexity, we like technology complexity, but we also have a very complex regulatory and business environment. All operators around the world have different contracts for exposing network APIs, different terms and conditions. And this makes it also very difficult from a business perspective for developers to actually get access to network APIs. So I think solving the technological challenges and the educational challenges, yes, but on the third hand, also solving the business challenge of making it simple to do business with telcos. And I think that's really where this joint venture that we have created together with Orange will come in, try to abstract away some of that business complexity from the telco ecosystem and provide simple terms and conditions to developer platforms and developers.
Maybe if I can as well add, the thing is that all of us is having the very important role in this ecosystem. No one can do it alone. Neither the mobile network operators, neither the JV, neither Infobip, neither Vonage, neither Nokia. If we all put the forces and take it seriously and put a lot of knowledge, a lot of education, a lot of time and effort, I think then we can succeed. If there will be just one player, no way.
Yeah, I think there's a point there of also having, like, not all quality on demand, for example, is not available in many countries, and it requires a bit of investment to get it out there. And we have this chicken and egg problem where you get developer interest, but we don't have the capabilities ready. And you need the capabilities to be ready to get the developers to actually start using them. So that's kind of the acceleration I see that is needed to just get the APIs out.
Maybe I can chime in on this one. You're right. I think if we really want to make those new APIs available and not just the easy ones, we need to invest a little bit on the network. And I think all our partners, technology partners in the room, you can help us to do it in a very, very smart, easy way to do it. I mean, we need, it cannot be a project that will last forever. It has to be very agile, and we need you to do that.
There's a question, gentleman in the check shirt.
Can you hear me? Hello, thank you for giving us the floor to ask questions. So I have a simple question. Do you think that quality on demand API and the new camera API, which is the name is dynamic slicing, we create like a kind of a new MVNO? That's all.
Maybe you can explain your thinking a little bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe an MVNO which will provide like premium connectivities. Yeah.
I think there is an opportunity to create more vertical operators, more specific operators in some areas that could behave as MVNO on top of an existing telco as a platform. In order to address some specific use cases, either for industry verticals or for other kinds of applications. And I think we need to think of it also on the wholesale market, how we can use camera APIs also in that area to serve other operators.
Thank you.
So we'd love to take more questions from you, but I would kindly ask you to reach out to us at the exit.
Yeah. I mean, like we definitely would like the guests to visit the API Playground stand located on C9 to C12. You can see a live demonstration of a population survey density map around Châtillon Station. Honestly, I had no idea about this. I went there. It's fascinating what we can do with telco APIs. Obviously, this brings us to the end of this panel session. Please give a very warm welcome to Magnus, Viktorija, Laurent, Joakim, and of course our host, Atilla Anton. And obviously, we want to extend our huge thanks to our guests here in the audience and those online. Don't forget, we have more exciting demonstrations and discussions taking place today. Yes, this is the third and last day of Orange Open Tech. And yes, we're going to go further, faster, and together. Thank you very much, everyone.
Party on the rooftop. All my friends get their groove on. All eyes on me when I'm walking. The fairy tale I'm glowing. Getting ready to be the one. Every girl dreams to hang on. Pampering me for the night out. Killing it shine.